Hi, so today we are going to correct the mid-chapter checkpoint together. This is a study guide for the quiz that you're going to be doing. So this is kind of like how you're going to study for that quiz. This is on page 93 and 94 of your math book. And we're going to do both sides, all of it. If you do not have that page, or you don't know where your math book is, or you've misplaced it somehow, here you go. I'm going to let you look at it here, and okay, I'm going to let you look at it and pause the video. If you need to do this on another sheet of paper, you can do that. Okay, thanks, Mr. Raymond.
Yep.
All right, here's the other side. So when you're finished with this, pausing this one, you can do this one. Here's the other side. Go ahead and pause it and try to work out those problems if you could not see, or if you don't have your math book. Sorry. Okay, let's do them together. And you should be looking at yours, and yours should be all completed if you've gotten this far in the video. And then we are going to go over them together so you can correct your work. So number one, the fractions 1/2 and 5/10 are equivalent fractions. So equivalent fractions will go here in this blank. A blank is a denominator that is the same in two or more fractions, and that is a common denominator. Common denominator is the same in two or more fractions. So make sure you study those two words. Are also on the final test. I feel like this paper is difficult to read, so let me try to make it a little easier. All right, this says 7/20. We get in there a little closer. There we go. 7/20. So it's asking us to write a decimal, tell whether use division, a number line, or some other method. So this one is an easier one because we can make 20 into 100 on the bottom. Remember, if you have a number that's tenths or hundredths on the bottom, or even thousands, those are easy to write as decimals. So we multiply the bottom by 5 to get to 100. So we also multiply the top by 5, and we have 35 hundredths for that one. You can just write that as 0.35. The next one, 40, is not easy to make into 100. So we are going to stick our bottom number on the outside of our division problem and divide. And I'm going to add a couple zeros there when I divide. We can add as many as we need. 40 doesn't fit into 39, but it does fit into 390 9 times. We're going to shoot our decimal straight up, and look how I'm putting that right over the ones place. That gives us 360. And when I subtract, I have a remainder of 30. Bring down the next zero. 40 fits into 300 7 times. That will give me 280. I'm going to subtract again. Bring down my next zero. And 40 goes into 200 5 times. Now, remember, we had a whole number here in the front, so we have to add that to our answer, because we're only taking the fraction part and making it into a decimal. All right, 8 is not easy to make into 10 or 100, so we stick the bottom out, divide, put some zeros in there. This one, 8 will go in there 6 times. 6 times 8 is 48. 8 goes into 20, bring that down, 22 times. Bring down the next zero, 8 goes into 40 5 times. So this one has a whole number of 1 in front, should be 1 and 625 thousandths. This one is easier because you can make 25 into 100 by multiplying it by 4. So therefore, we're going to do 19 times 4. To find out what the top number would be, because whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. So we get 76 here, 76 hundredths, and so that would just be written as 76 hundredths, and remember, this has to be ending in the hundredths place. All right, least to greatest. So some of these we know. This one, we can easily take 4/5 and turn it into tenths by multiplying the top and bottom by 2. So that'd be the same as 0.8. 3/4 is a benchmark fraction that we know. It's 0.75 or 75%, 75 hundredths. If you wanted to change the 4 into hundredths, you could do that by multiplying by 25. And then we have 0.88. So our smallest from least to greatest would be the middle one here, 3/4. Next, 4/5, and finally 88/100. Okay, and for this next one, we already have 2 of these in a decimal, and this last one we can easily change into a decimal because 5 times 2 is 10, so then 3 times 2 is 6. That'll give us 6/10. So the smallest one here is 0.59, then we have 0.6, which we should write as 3/5, because you always want to use what they used in the problem. And then finally, 65/100. Okay, the next ones, some of these we already kind of know. So we know this is smaller than 1, so that one has to go first because both of the other ones are larger than 1. And then 1/4 is like 0.25, and 2/3 as another benchmark fraction is like 0.66. So I know that the 0.25 is going to come first. 1/4 is smaller than 1 2/3. The next one, 7/8. Some of you may have that memorized as a benchmark fraction, but if you don't, you can stick the bottom out and divide. When you divide that out, you will get 0.875. So if we look at these, 0.86 is smaller than 0.875. Next would be the 0.875, or whoops, we got to write that as 7/8. Sorry about that. And then finally would be the 0.9. All right, then number 11. So this one, remember, if you can simplify in a diagonal, it makes it faster. 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 8 4 times. Multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators, 1/12. All right, here we don't have any simplifying that can happen, so we're just going to get 8/25. When you have a whole number and you need to multiply it times a fraction, just make your whole number into a fraction, an improper fraction, by putting it over 1. Then you can simplify. You should have 9/1 or just 9 on that one. Mia climbs 5/8 of the height of a rock wall. Lee climbs 4/5 of Maya's distance. 4/5 of Maya's distance. So of tells us to multiply times her distance. What's the fraction of the wall does Lee climb? So let's simplify this first. And you should get 1/2 of the wall. All right, for the next page, and I'm trying to get through this all in less than 15 minutes for you so you can see the video. So in Zoe's class, 4/5 of the students have pets. Of the students who have pets, 1/8 have rodents. What fraction of the students in Zoe's class have pets that are rodents? What fraction of the students in Zoe's class have pets that are not rodents? So this one, we're going to start with 1/8 have rodents, 1/8 of these pets. So remember the word of tells us to multiply. So we're going to do 1/8 times 4/5. I'm going to simplify that first and get 1/10. So 1/10 of the class has rodents. All right, now we want to know what fraction. So let's see. What fraction of the pets are rodents? So next, we are going to do 7/8 because 1/8 has rodents. So 1 whole minus 1/8, right? 1 whole, so we can do 1/1, and we're subtracting, so we need a common denominator. So you're going to change these both to 8s, right? Because you multiply the top and bottom by the same thing. 8/8 is the same as 1 whole. You just cut it into more pieces. This would give us 7/8 of the kids do not have rodents. So we have to do 7/8 of that 4/5. So we simplify it down. You get 7/10 of the class have pets that are not rodents. So this is of the class that has rodents, and these do not have rodents. Okay, that one was a tough one. It won't be on your test. All right, the next one, 16. We have a recipe calls for 2 2/3 cup of flour. Tara wants to make 3/4 of the recipe. So again, we see of 3/4 of, use the times, 2 and 2/3. How much should you use? So first we have a mixed number here. We need to do the wheel, or we need to make it into an improper fraction. Remember, you just keep the denominator the same here. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 more is 8. Now we look to see if we can simplify it all, and we can. We're going to have 2 over 1, or just 2 cups. So 2 cups of flour should be used. Okay, this next one, it says, following the Baltimore Running Festival in 2009, volunteers collected and recycled 3.75 tons of trash. Graph 3 and 75 on a number line and write the weight as a mixed number. So here we start with 3.75. We know that 0.75, we could write it this way, right? 3 and 75 hundredths. And then we could simplify that down by dividing the top and bottom by 25. 75 divided by 25 is 3. 100 divided by 25 is 4. So we have 3 and 3/4. Now this line is cut into 8 sections. So instead, I'm going to want the bottom number here to be an 8. So I'm going to have 3, and then 4 times 2 is 8. 3 times 2 is 6. So I'm going to get 3 and 6/8. Here's my 3. Now this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we just go to the one that is 6 over. This is the spot for 3 and 6/8. All right, and finally it says 4 students took an exam. The fraction of the total possible points that each student received is given. Which student had the highest score? If the students receive a whole number of points on every exam, can the exam be worth a total of 80 points? So this last part is really complicated. I will explain it, but if you didn't understand that last part, it's not going to be on the test. So here we want to compare, we're going to have to compare decimals. So I know this one, if I multiply by 4, I can get hundredths on the bottom. 4 times 22 is 88. 88 hundredths can be written like that, which would be 88% on the test. This one, if I multiply the top and bottom by 5, I can get 100 on the bottom. And that will be 85 hundredths, so it's going to be 0.85. This one I can turn into tenths by multiplying by 2. So I'd get 8 tenths, and that would be 0.8, or 80 hundredths. I can just add that 0 in, it's a placeholding 0. And this one I'm going to make into, actually 3/4 I know is 0.75. I just know that one because it's a benchmark. So now again, it's asking who had the highest score. That would be Monica. Monica has the highest score with the 88%. And the exam cannot be worth 80 points because there's no fraction equivalent to this that would have 80 as a denominator. There's nothing I can multiply this by to get 80 as a denominator as a whole number. So there cannot be 88 points. So the answer to the second part is no, it cannot be worth 80 points. Okay, good luck with that. Hopefully you understood all of that, and you'll do really well on your quiz.